just like, you really think I'm that stupid? Like, obviously I can, but sometimes it's just like easier to be like, I'm just play dumb for a second, like make him feel like I'm a damsel in distress, like he needs to pick the food, otherwise we're not gonna eat. So
bitch, what I was trying to say is this situation got me so wet and so dry at the same time. Exactly.
what's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of So Wet, So Dry. Your girls are back to doing remote episodes and happy to be here. My name is Autumn, like the season. I like to think of myself as one of Aphrodite's daughters, and I work in entertainment.
And I'm Fiji, guys, like the island, like the water, and I like to change my hair all the time. Just changed it today. Shout out Jim at Salon B in Atlanta. And I work in marketing and social media. If you guys are new here, we break down topics in sex, relationships, and identity and talk about what we're so wet or so dry about them.
Yes, bitch. And we stay up with like pop culture, and we'll always incorporate trends and shit, but happy to have you here if you are new. But basically, quick announcement before we get into everything. We are having like a little raffle contest that's launching today, the day this episode drops. Ooh. All you have to do to enter, okay, all you have to do is rate us on Spotify, follow us on Spotify, and subscribe to our YouTube. That's literally it. Send us a screenshot of all of those things to our Instagram at So Wet So Dry, or email us. And we'll literally we'll cash up you $100, Venmo, whatever you want,
if you win, not for everyone.
Oh yeah,
if you win. But also, guys, we're gonna announce the winners in our episodes. Since our episodes come out every Thursday, it's gonna be on Thanksgiving. And we want to say a big thank you to all of our supporters. It's so crazy. We've been doing this since March. It feels insane. But we want to reward you, and we also want to spread the So Wet So Dry love. You feel me?
Yeah, and honestly, we can draw the winner on Instagram Live on our Instagram maybe, and because we can just Instagram in, so it'll be super fun. But we really just want the community to grow, and also like it's Thanksgiving, we're giving back, like you guys get it. But basically, if you aren't already, also just feel free to follow us everywhere. We also have listener support in our Spotify link bio, and it would mean so much to us. It's like $99, $4.99, $9.99, whatever you can do. It would mean amazing to us. And also make sure you're following on Instagram, because we post polls for every single episode. So if you want to have your voice heard, share a story, just be a part of our community of confused pussies, bitch. And follow us on all of that shit. So let's start the episode how we always do.
Yep, we talk about what we're so wet and so dry about in this very moment before we get into our topic. So I'll start us off. I'm so wet, honestly, about so many things right now. Like, I feel like I have so much to catch up on because we haven't done an episode in, like, forever. But mostly I'm so wet about Revolt World. It was the 50-year anniversary of hip-hop, so Diddy had this, like, dope networking
I knew you were going to say this.
I know. We already talked about it, but it was so cool. Like, if you live in Atlanta, you really missed out if you didn't go. It was completely free, too, which, like, how many events like that are free?
Bro.
Insane. But I networked with so many cool people. I got some interviews. I saw some concerts, some panels. It was really, really dope. So shout out to Diddy for that. I'd love to see more like artists doing events like that and everything, you know?
Yeah, and also like what we were talking about, like it's just nice to like be in a room with like-minded creatives, like people going towards something. Like it made this bitch so inspired. She's like blowing up my phone like, we need to do this, we need to do this. Like she's a voice memo queen, but that shit was long. I was like, okay.
No, I was like this morning, like 4-minute messages, like, okay,
but like
I have a plan.
It's good because like she, like, you know, like if I was in that room, I probably would have felt the same type of, like, energy. Like, it's so lit.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're creative, I highly because I don't go to many events like this. Like, neither of us really do. We're in our work stuff day to day. But if you can join a group like that or go to an event, like, if you're feeling uninspired, I highly recommend. Like, I went to yoga yesterday. Like, I've just been feeling great. So, shout out Revolt World.
Fuck, babe, that's awesome. The yoga thing too, shit. Okay, so this week I'm so wet about, like, it's kind of stupid, but like basically I rewatched Orange is the New Black from front to end or start to finish, bitch.
Front to back.
And I never watched like season 5, 6, 7. Like I didn't know some, but anyways, I am obsessed with Laura Prepon, who plays Alex Vaz, and like I literally have been thinking about her, dreaming about her like nonstop, and I even like went into like TikTok compilation world of like Alex Vaz and like all these, because it's like a thing. She's like
You're
a lesbian icon, bro.
Yeah.
And I screen recorded this one part of her saying like, "Come on, babe, I want to make you come," because like she said that to fucking Piper in the scene. I screen recorded it, and then I basically copy and pasted the same video like multiple times, so it played on a loop, and I masturbated to it.
Not the pre-edit. What?
Bro, because you don't understand, like, my dreams have felt so real. Like, I genuinely feel like we're dating because of my dreams, and I know it's so delusional, but it's been a great, like, project for me. Like, I think I might be here for Halloween or something.
Honestly, that is creative as fuck. Like, I was thinking that,
Bro.
like, women with their masturbating, like, fantasies and what we masturbate to is so much more creative than men. Like,
it was a great orgasm too. Like, she killed it for us.
Hi.
But anyways,
the new go-to per. Okay, love that. Not to bring it down. Honestly, I'm not. I'm honestly not dry about anything. Like, I really haven't been. But I was like thinking about, what am I so dry about? I walked to the store to get White Claws before this episode. And of course, the universe had to give me something to be dry about. I was fucking walking back from the gas station, minding my own little business, like headphones in, and this car pulls up right next to me. Of course, it's a dude, slow driving, and he's trying to talk to me, and like my music isn't too loud, so I can hear him.
Unfortunately.
And he was like, look up, look up, look up. So I'm looking straight, like ignoring him, but he's still like, he's going with me for like a minute, like a straight minute. And I turned to him and I was like, leave me alone, like I'm just trying to walk. And he was like, no, I'm just trying to tell you, like, look up, you need to be like aware, like what's your name though? And I was like, I have a boyfriend, even though I don't. I was like, I have a boyfriend. And he was like, oh, well, if I was your boyfriend, I would tell you to look up. And like, he kept going. Like, he followed me for a good like 200 yards. And I was starting to get paranoid because like it's right down the street from where I live.
Bro, that's like some Boston shit. Like,
yeah,
how they follow you in the car like that. That's honestly scary though. You're like, I have a boyfriend. I fucking love it, bro. But even if you like didn't have a man like that, it's like, that's like, honestly, it comes out of my mouth too sometimes, like, because they respect you more.
Right. They're like, oh, like, you're a man. Like,
someone's
like,
controlling this one.
I would da-da-da. Like, as if like my boyfriend's supposed to be responsible for me like looking up on the street. Again, guys, I don't have a boyfriend. I have a man, like half man, whatever. But yeah. Yeah.
That's trash, bro. I got a quick dry, but basically I, not one, but I had to get 2 root canals this past. So yeah, I'm going to be flossing 6 times a day from now on. I'm not eating candy ever again. But honestly, that shit wasn't even that bad because like, literally, basically you have to get like your mouth numb and like the needle in your mouth, and like he gave me the first 2 and I was like, that wasn't even bad, keep it coming. Like, it wasn't even bad at all. He's like, okay, I'll have to do like
in your mouth for so long. You're like,
he's like, what needle? No, they have a contraption in your mouth to hold it open. It low-key was giving like because I was spread open, and then after that, like, I couldn't laugh and like move my jaw. Like, it was a little fucked up because you have to open your mouth for so long. Yeah. But I got no, like, open it wider. Like, I was like,
you were like, yeah, bitch, I've been here before.
Fake me shit. But yeah, so it's whatever. Like, root canals are fine. This is never gonna happen again. It's a learning experience.
Right.
So today we are talking about the whole phenomenon about why women act dumb around men, play dumb around men. We're going to talk about bimbo culture, the Barbie movie, Kawaii culture, and we did a bunch of research, and we have a bunch of like personal stories, like early childhood stuff comes to mind, but we'll really just get into it. It's mostly just, why do women act dumb around men, and why is this a thing in general and in our society? So we did some polls, and Fiji's going to get into those from our Instagram.
Yes. So again, like Autumn said earlier, if you guys follow us on Instagram, we do polls for every episode. We also have a broadcast channel. It's new if you want to join that. But our first poll for this episode, we asked women, have you ever found yourself acting dumb around a man? And 68% said yes, and 32% said no. And oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, go.
No, I was just gonna say, low key, like, I feel like saying no is kind of like some pick me shit. Because like this shit's ingrained in us. Like when you're a little girl and you're like doing that shit on the playground, like, yes, you have, bro. And it's, why are we ashamed? Like, maybe you haven't. But I'm just like, that's some pick-me shit low-key.
Well, because there is a whole segment of women, I feel like, that really look down upon girls like that. And it is giving pick-me energy, because pick-me energy is usually just like, oh, I'm not like her. Like, I'm not like other girls type of thing. But it's like you might be doing it too, so...
Right,
yeah.
and like, we'll literally get into it, but I found this article about the whole, like, I'm not like other girls, and now it's like, I want to be like other girls, like, we're embracing that. So, like, people that said no, like, it's giving outdated feminism, it's giving white feminism, it's giving, like... Just embrace it, bitch. But
and also, if you're a listener and you voted that, we're not trying to hate on you. We're just going to educate you.
Let's talk about it.
You're going to learn throughout this episode, so let's get there. Okay. Yeah. And then for men, we asked them if they've ever experienced a woman acting dumb around them, and 95% said yes, and 5% said no. And obviously, men's ideas of what it means for a woman to act dumb around them can be different too, because you could be acting totally rational and a man could be like, oh, she's acting dumb.
Right, because they're dumb.
Right. I think they kind of know what we mean. So, like, some terms that, like, men use to describe women or, like, this type of thing is, like, bimbo, dumb blondes, airhead, thoughtless, carefree, like, just a Barbie, like, young and dumb, like, all of those terms, like, we've kind of heard from men and other women, so that's, like, kind of what we're talking about. I know, like, just the word dumb in general can, like, mean a lot of things.
Right.
But that's kind of what we meant in that. And I feel like 95% of men, not that we always trust men, but they say that we be doing this shit, so.
I know, and it all depends on, like, who our followers are and, like, all this shit, and I think it's a great point to bring up, too. It's, like, men and other women be, like, doing this, like bimbo thing, like hating on women, like she's stupid, she's supposed to be a role model, like what is she doing, like blah blah blah. So basically, the term bimbo used to be a huge insult, and it was, you know, a mean thing to call a woman, but now bitches are reclaiming it. And it's important to note that on TikTok, if you look up bimbo culture, bimbodification, you'll see a bunch of different body types, races, ethnicities, people, LGBTQ people have been like a huge fucking like group in this movement. So it's really cool, and like, it reminds me, and I was, you know, reading this article, and it was about how, like, in millennial times, it was all, like, I'm not like other girls, like, pick me, like, all those movies we watched growing up. And I even had a friend growing up where low-key, like, she was like, I don't want to hang out with girls, I like hanging out with guys, I like sports, I don't like makeup, blah, blah, blah. So it was, like, that whole thing, but I really think the bimbo culture movement is like women saying like it's okay to be like other girls, like why don't we want to be like other girls? Like being a girl is awesome, and it doesn't look like just one thing. Like a lot of research I did on this culture was kind of just like, you know, be you and show up as you are, and you can be a part of the movement. Like it's fucking inclusive as fuck from what I've seen.
Yeah, and it's also, like, accentuating, like, the hyper-femininity thing, like, reclaiming the color pink and being, like, girly.
Yes.
And, like, how you said you had a friend in high school, like, honestly, I was kind of like that because I was a sporty girl. And, like, I still wore makeup and, like, I still cared about clothes or whatever, but I feel like I did kind of lean more onto the, like,
yeah, and
I'm
that's
not like
fine.
other
like
girls' side, but I also do specifically remember, like you said, the types of movies, and that was the big time when reality TV became a thing. Like there was Paris Hilton, which I know you're gonna get into, but it's like I remember my mom and other like parents and women being like, "Oh, don't be like that. Don't be like her. Be like smarter." You know, so.
Yeah, and it's, with, like, some, like, people that come to mind, it's, like, Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, And, like, I even saw, like, Channing Tatum. Like, I saw, like, it was, like, interesting, the articles I was reading. Like, it was, like, guys are also, like, in this, especially, like, queer men and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and I just think with Paris Hilton, like, this woman was saying kind of, like, I don't buy that she's that stupid. Like, she has these quotes about, like, yeah, I have big tits. Like, or, like, she was like, did I pay for my tits? Yeah, like, whatever. Like, she kind of just, like, really plays into it where it's so calculated where people that are, like, you know, awake can be like, she's not really that dumb. Like, she just built a brand off of this sort of thing.
Yeah, and we know that now because she's done interviews where she's been like, yeah, it was part of, but back then in the early 2000s, like, people were like, no, she's just like that. Oh, she's dumbing girls down. Like, oh, it's like, it's against the feminist movement, da-da-da-da-da.
Right. It's all, like, because this shit has so much to do with, like, the feminist movement, and, like, what that looked like in the 2000s is so much, like, different than now. Like, people really did, like, hate on her for being dumb, and now it's, like, a conversation about, like, oh, she's actually, like, being a bad bitch, like, type shit. And going back to the thing, like, I'm not like other girls and that whole thing, like, I do have this one early childhood story that I, like, really, really remember. I was not, you know, considered attractive, air quotes, in 5th grade. Like, I was very much a theater kid and, like, was wearing glitter eyeliner. People used to make fun of me. Like, I was, you know, I was just different. I was being me, and now glitter eyeliner's in. Like, fuck you, bitches. But anyways, so I was sitting on the bleachers with, like, the fucking, like, hottest guy in my grade. Like, he was just known. Like, I was, like, definitely down. And, like, he was just, like, you know, like, he said, like, my name. He was like, you don't always, like, need to, like, play dumb. Like, I've seen your test scores. Like, when we get tests back, like, you're actually really smart. Like, I don't know why you do that. And I was low-key shook because I was like, you caught on to that? But I was so young that I didn't know in my head, like, oh, I'm playing dumb. I'm, like, doing this for some reason, some type of advantage. But, like, when you're that little, like, I was, like, 10 years old, I was like, oh, shit. Because, like, I knew that I was playing dumb, but I think that's what guys, like, wanted. Because even though, like, people hated on bimbos and dumb girls, like, they were always, like, really beautiful and, like, had huge tits, and, like, people would lust after them and want them sexually. So I'm just, like, and society teaches you, like, any sort of sexual objectification is bad. Like, you should feel bad about yourself. You should feel stupid if you want to, like, lean into that and profit off of that, like, finessing type of thing. Like, and it's just, like, it's just sad. Like, that's just how we grow up. But it's a crazy memory.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes me think of, like, even, like, Mean Girls or other movies like that.
Where right?
Kind of push
Karen.
The narrative. Which one's Karen?
The Karen.
Oh, Karen and Lindsay.
Yeah, like, I think it's Rainy.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, that. I was, yeah.
She's
that.
a bimbo,
She's
bro.
But even Regina George, to an extent,
low-key.
like, she's bimbo, but she's much more, you can see the strategic, like, calculatedness of her.
Right.
But, like, with the Aaron guy, he, like, likes Regina, but then Katie came around, like, Lindsay Lohan, and,
the
like,
pick-me
he liked
girl.
her because she was smart.
Yeah.
Or no, he didn't like her because she was smart. She played dumb.
Yeah, she played dumb OD.
But then at the end, he was like, oh, like, why would you, like, fake it like you're actually smart? I would have
Oh my God,
more.
I'm literally like Katie and Aaron from Mean Girls, that story.
And I think that was a trope that was pushed too, where it was like, oh, like, guys, like, just go after the dumb girls for sex, but they really want, like, a smart girl or whatever. So it was this confusing thing of, like, you know, they're sexually attracted to these girls, but they want these girls for relationships, but then they're going to go back to this girl. So it was like, no matter what, you were never really right or enough, but it was all also for males' attention. Versus now I feel like bimbocore, bimbo culture is much more about women and how they feel about themselves and reclaiming it versus for the male gaze.
Right, the male gaze, bro. That is such a good point. That fucking movie, bro. And honestly, I think Regina, fucking Gretchen, they're all bimbos. They all wear fucking pink on Wednesdays type shit. Like, they... Yeah. But that's such a good point. And I feel like Katie, they always say her name wrong. Yeah. So I, like, say... But I think, like, she just probably didn't even think about it and, like, wanted to play dumb because, like, Regina was dumb and, like, she wanted Aaron to like her. And it's, like, I think we all really went through that. But we're so young, we're not able to, like, really understand the patriarchy. But now looking back, it's, like, crazy. Like, it's just that internalized shit. You can't get away from it. But yeah, I think like the biggest thing is like for me and you especially, like being like ex-sex workers, ex-strippers, whatever, like the finesse for money, like based on your body and how you look, is like huge and like prevalent in our lives, and we definitely have a lot of experience about it. And like with Paris Hilton and Kim K and shit, they're like fucking walking billboards of that, and it's like we love that, like we applaud that so much. And like what you're saying, it's like all the Mean Girl shit, that was like past bimbo, but now we're moving away from the male gaze. It's about women. And I also think like another reason we might think guys like dumb girls is because like they need to feel fucking smart all the time, so we need to like fucking whatever, but we're really just finessing them. And that was one of the answers in our polls. Like we asked you guys also as well on Instagram, why do women play dumb around men? And one of the answers was to finesse them, to get money, to get what they want, any type of finessing. And 42% said that one. That was the highest one out of all the options. And I think it's great. I fucking support it, and I think we should all be finessing.
No, I agree. And honestly, like you said, Paris Hilton earlier, like that's what she built her brand on, like Kim Kardashian to a degree too, because I think Kim Kardashian is much smarter and more calculated. In Kris Jenner, if you watch the Kardashians, Kris Jenner plays dumb all the time. And it's like, I know she's not that dumb. She's very calculated.
There is zero way.
Like, in a boardroom strategic. But when you see her, like, in the episode where she, like, dressed up in the blonde wig and she's, like, fucking her boyfriend or whatever, like, she's always just, like, the drunk mom, like, ha, ha, ha.
Literally. Yeah, like, she really does, bro. Because I've been getting into those episodes. Like, she really does.
She plays into it. And honestly, my mom is kind of like that, too. Like, I feel like moms kind of do that. Like, play into we call my mom Bubbles sometimes because she acts like an airhead. Like, she just be, like, all over the place.
Bubbles.
Maybe it's a mom thing, but, like, she probably doesn't, because she was one of the people when I was growing up that's like, oh, don't be like that. Like, think, like, straight. Like, don't be like those girls, da-da-da. But then I look at her and I'm like, girl, what? Like, you know? But just on the topic of finesse, too, like, do you remember when we stripped? Like, I would wear, like, I like my hair in pigtails or whatever, but I would wear my hair in pigtails, and I feel like both of us played into the, like, younger girl, like, cutesy thing.
So
to appeal to men. And it was, like, to appeal to men's egos or, like, whatever, but also definitely to finesse.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. It used to all be about the male gaze and, like, how can we make ourselves better for men and blah, blah, blah to, you know, appeal to the men's ego. And that was another response in our poll, why do women play dumb to appeal to the men's ego? That was the second highest one at 39%. But it's like, I feel like now we're moving away from that. Like, it's not going to be for, like, this bimbo culture is not for the male gaze, like, whatsoever, in this whole movement.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to bring it kind of, like, more of a worldwide view, like, I feel like usually we're talking mostly about sex and relationships in America, but because we've become just more global with, like, TikTok, social media, we get trends and all this stuff from other cultures, I'm going to bring it over to our friends in Asia. And you guys probably have heard of Kawaii culture before. Most people know it as a style. It's, like, very cutesy.
Yeah.
It's got, like, a lot of bright colors. Like, they make little cute faces.
I love it so much.
Right? It's super cute. And there's a lot of appropriation going on, too. But,
hard.
You know. So this, most of the info I pulled from this is from a YouTube video from Olivia's son. If you guys don't know her, check her out. She has a lot of really dope video essays, but it's about the self-fetishization of East Asia. Korea boos and weebs aren't the only problem, and she just gets into the fetishization. Like, are women doing this to themselves? Is it because they live in a male-dominated society, etc.? But Kawaii culture is in Japan, but there's a similar one in China called Saijao. And then there's also in Korea, it's called Aegyo. Sorry if I'm, like, butchering the pronunciation. But they're all pretty much the same thing. So in Chinese, the literal definition of Saijao means to deliberately act like a spoiled child in front of someone because of the awareness of the other person's affection. So it's kind of to, like, make yourself seem, like, cute and, oh, I need help, like, type of thing. Like, bimboify yourself in order to get someone to do something for you. And it's usually a man. And
of course.
Right. And over in Asia, it's really interesting because this is seen as a very important skill. So it's something that, like, particularly girls, but like also little boys and stuff like that too, but mostly women are taught from a young age, and it's also something that's seen as like either you have it or you don't. You like kind of inherit it. And it's used to kind of finesse. So for example, if two female workers were at work and one was kind of presenting herself on some like girl boss, I got it, da 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 da, whatever, the men would kind of like turn a blind eye to her and not really pay attention. Versus if another one presented Aegyo and was like, oh, like I need help, like where's the printer? The men would help her and she would be more successful in her career. And this is because they live in a male-dominated society. So it's a way to finesse and also to appeal to men's egos to get up. So another survey, it's not
That's
just...
so fucking cool, bro, because I had no idea. Like, I literally, like, kawaii culture, exactly. It's, like, the cute colors and shit, but there's, like, fucking science behind this shit. Like, that's so cool.
There's
like,
feminism behind it, too.
Right, like, it was so, like, yeah, that's really cool. Love that.
They did this survey where they asked husbands and boyfriends how important Aegyo is to their relationship on a scale of 1 to 5. And 50% of them said a 4 and 25% of them said a 5. So that's 75% said above 4, it was important to their relationship. And so women would do this to kind of boost their man's ego and make him seem like bigger and like strong and smart.
But even though he knows about it?
Even though he knows about it. So it's kind of like a foreplay game that they would play in a way.
Interesting. Because I feel like guys don't really know. I feel like they do more now because we're like popping off, but like that's interesting.
But even in our polls, 95% of men said that they have had a woman act dumb around them, and we didn't ask more into like why they thought that. Right. They did vote. I think a lot of them said finesse in the other poll. But what I don't think they realize is that it does appeal, and I've done it before. I do it with the guy I'm seeing sometimes now. Like because honestly, it's like a relief sometimes to just be like, oh, like you got it, like you da da da. Like I'm thinking so hard being a business bitch all day. Right. When you come around, I don't want to make you like as fucked up as it is. Like men's egos are so fragile. I don't always want to like hurt his ego, so sometimes it's better for your relationship to make him feel big, as long as it's not all the time, you know?
Right. No, it's so much easier. And sometimes, like, literally with my ex-boyfriend, like, he would want me to, like, pick where we're going to eat or what food we're getting. And I would, like, literally gaslight him so hard and, like, almost start crying and just be like, I can't. Like, I don't know where to go. And he would just, like, and it's just, like, you really think I'm that stupid? Like, obviously I can. But sometimes it's just, like, easier to be like, I'm just play dumb for a second. Like, make him feel like I'm a damsel in distress. Like, he needs to pick the food. Otherwise, we're not going to eat. So,
yeah. And that's the other one that in our polls. It was, like, a shorter percentage, but it was to get the men to think more.
Which really pisses me off because that was my number one. Like, I don't want to do any work. I want them to think,
exactly.
Like, I don't want to do any work, like, at all. Like, you know what I mean?
And that, like, as much as it's, like, for our benefit, I think it's also for men's, because men's whole thing is, like, we're the leaders, we're the protectors. When I feel like women really lead and protect, like, from behind the scenes a lot more. Yeah. Like, I watched a TikTok about how women are actually natural protectors because, you know, they have the mother instinct and they will, like, fearlessly protect their child. And also it was talking about when violence happens to women on the street, it's more likely for a woman to step in and help her than a man. Right. So who's really the protector?
But, dude, for real, bro. My mom talks about that all the time.
But yeah, I think this kind of ties into everything you were saying about bimbo culture too, because it's also that whole I'm just a girl trend where it's like, oh, men should be building houses, da da da. Which is, I think, like a feminist way of like flipping what they're saying back on them and being like, okay, then if you want to be the leader and the protector, then do some leading and protecting. But
and we've like said that all, like in other episodes, like the Sassy Man Apocalypse, we talked about that. It's like guys like want to be this like huge title, and so it's like, but they don't know how to really give it. And really for this episode, we're talking about men and women because we are like bringing gender into this, and like we're, you know, we want to include non-binary people, like, 100%. But it's like gay men can be bimbos, like, non-binary people can be bimbos. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, the fucking Bimbocore is very, like, pink. Like, there's, like, a thing to it, but the actual, like, who can be a bimbo is, like, really inclusive as to what I've seen. But I did want to just, like, bring in queer shit, like, real quick. Like, I would do the same thing with my girlfriend, though, and be like, cry because I don't want to figure out the restaurant. Like, it's really just, like, whoever I'm with. But I definitely think it's still just, like, because the whole men and women thing, like, it's weird because sexuality plays into it. Gender's not even really real. So I just think, like, whoever I'm fucking with and then all men, I do this shit too, basically.
Yeah, and I feel like we focus on men and men's egos because of the patriarchy. But, like, if we're being real and we're trying to move forward, like, everybody, my necklace just broke. Everybody has an ego. And, like, I also think it's just an important aspect to all relationships where it's like sometimes you need to know when to step back and not be like so controlling or a know-it-all to let them take the power. And that can be in queer relationships, that can be in straight relationships. It doesn't just have to be women acting dumb because men act dumb a lot. Like, too. I know we have a story about this like coming in later, but like men act dumb about doing their laundry and like knowing like where something goes or like things that they think are like more of women's work or whatever. And they use that to their advantage to get women to do things for them. So I think they're also using this bimboification in different ways, you know? Right.
And I think like with Kawaii culture, like they're both benefiting from this thing that's like apparently like set in their fucking culture. Like people like know about it and it's obviously really important to like relationships based on that, like, you know, study you shared. But it's just crazy because I feel like it's like honestly this whole like role play thing about like the guys, the, you know, the big guy and then the girls like I don't know what to do, like whatever, like if like in Kawaii culture you're both knowing about it and like taking that situation that we can't control, that's we're in a male dominated society everywhere, and like making it advantage for both parties, like it's pretty fucking cool. Like the United States could learn a lot, like we already know, but it's just like I feel like over here in the U.S. it's very just like this unhidden game and women are just like fuck men so hard, and I'm sure it's like fuck men everywhere, but that's specifically what you're talking about is super interesting.
Well, yeah, and I think it's tricky too because like in China and a lot of like other Asian cultures, like in China, you know, you can't have I don't know if it's still a thing. I'll have to like plug research on it or something, but you couldn't have your first child couldn't be a girl. So, like, they're definitely much more patriarchal. Like, it's a much more oppressive. So, I think that's also part of it. The, like, using bimboification to, like, finesse is much more of a, like, survival mechanism. Versus, like, something you can do for fun.
For fun.
So so
a trend.
So, I think that, like, I think in America, like, can come to a place where we're like, okay, like, it doesn't have to just be women and it doesn't have to be, like, an anti-feminist thing and, like, all of that. But, like, there's definitely gay men in China and South Korea and all of that are doing this stuff, but predominantly it's more of like it helps relationships, but it's also some like survival type of
I know, and you even think of like prostitutes and like sex workers, like their job literally is to finesse, and like unfortunately a lot of times it is just for survival. Like it's not for fun, it's not to like try out a new, you know, strip club job and dance. It's like literally they need to. So that's a really good point because you think about that, it's like really dark and sad, but then like what people are like doing on TikTok with the whole bimbo thing, it's very like we have a choice to do this, so we're doing it. Like we have a choice to sexually objectify ourselves when it's like a lot of women don't have a choice. And I mean we all are sexually objectified and we don't have a choice about it, but I just mean like I've like been like out before and like flashed a titty to get a free hot dog, like you know, like that was for fun. That was a choice. I didn't need to do that. Like it actually did happen. Like I was in Europe, like weirdly enough, but I literally was like in line to get hot dogs with my girlfriend. I was like, can we get them both for free though? And she was like appalled by me. She used to talk because she was never like that. She felt so uncomfortable like doing those things, which is like low key normal. Like that's how most people are. But I'm just like obviously out here you're not caring from day one.
But, like,
and
use it to your benefit.
And she educated me on it. She's like, you know what you're doing, right? Because I'm just, like, so, like, manic and, like, being hasty with my decisions and just, like, word vomiting. Like, I'll flash you my titty. Like, I'm not thinking about it. But it's, like, when you really think about it, it's, like, this shit really is calculated and it works.
Yeah, it really, and honestly, I was going to bring it to, like, porn and stuff like that, too, real quick. Because, like, also, a lot of these, like, it has to do with power dynamics and, like, dark stuff. And a lot of that comes up in our, like, sex life. Like, even, like, the being degraded stuff. And low-key, like...
The hentai bitch?
Yeah, I was
the bunny?
that. Like, I still haven't watched any porn like that. But I've looked up similar things.
Yeah.
Where, like, on some real degradation, like, as, like, oh, you're a dumb, like, woman. Like, I'm, like, a powerful man. Like, whatever type of shit. But I found it, we were talking about it because of Working Moms. If you guys have ever seen the show Working Moms, what's the character's name? Do you remember?
Kate.
She's the
Kate Foster.
One. Yeah, Kate Foster. She, like, talks about what type of porn she likes in a whole room full of men. And they're all like, what the fuck? And her husband's like, what the fuck? But she likes, like, a little bunny girl and, like, a big wolf man. Like, bus driver just, like, fucks the shit out of her.
But they're not like animals. It's like they're
human animals, like cartoon type of vibes. But like after, I was not really into that type of porn, but after she said that, I was like, damn, I feel like I would be typed into that. But I also relate to her in the sense of like being more in my regular daily life, being like, fuck man, I need to like be more like a man to like be taken seriously, da-da-da. So like being that hyper feminine, I'm just a girl, da-da-da, like in a sex way is like empowering and like turns you on. It's like
totally
backwards.
Okay, so to bring it back, we were talking about another reason that women play dumb around men is to get men to do all the thinking, which this percentage was low in our polls. It was only 12% of y'all said that one, but I think it's number one. Honestly, that's like my favorite thing. Like, I don't want to think or do anything, and I fucking love it. So basically, now we're going to switch gears into still talking about bimbo culture, but how it relates to the Barbie movie specifically, which is OD popular, obviously. I haven't seen it. Fiji has, but I did do some research on it to, add to the convo. And basically, we want to say first that this episode is being recorded during the SAG-AFTRA strike, and we just want to say we stand in solidarity with everyone involved, actors, everyone. But yeah, so basically my research, and you correct me if I'm wrong, bitch, essentially, but what I gathered from NBC News is that the Barbie movie was all about, the different nuances that come with being a woman. Like you can be hyper feminine, hypersexual, dark, weird, scary, queer, dirty, gross, messy, whatever. And like just come as you are. Like that's, what the bimbo is. That's what we've all been saying. And it basically said in this article, the main message of Barbie is that women should have the autonomy to be what they want to be without having to conform to the patriarchy's ideals. The Barbie movie promotes the idea that feminism is inclusive of all women and that being a woman is complicated and sometimes messy. And I love that it says messy because that's literally like our whole podcast. Like that's what we try to preach to you guys. Like it's okay to be messy. It doesn't make you a hoe. It doesn't make you stupid. Like this and that. It's just what comes with being a woman. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited to hear what Fiji has to say. I literally don't know anything, about the plot of the movie. So, what do you think, babe?
Yeah, I think that really does like sum it up. Like mostly, like I feel like women, that the feminism from Barbie is pretty much like you can be who you are, you can be whatever, and it should be accepted, which is I think the direction our feminism is moving in more. But it's really interesting because I was thinking too, like I remember bringing up the Barbie movie to you for the first time when we talked about it, and you were like, oh, I don't want to see that. It's just giving, like,
Yeah, I was like,
like, it was
like... Because the Barbie, like, it has negative connotations with a lot of people, like, because of the whole, like, body thing,
The unattainable, like, beauty standards.
Right. That's what it represents to me, like, as a whole. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the movie did a really good job of showing that. But before I get into that, like a just personal note, guys, I went to go see the Barbie movie this past Friday with my man, who's like not my man, but my man. But it was like a big moment for our like type relationship because I had been asking him to take me to this movie for like months, and at first it was just like, oh, I want to see Barbie, we should go together on some like cute date shit. But then it kind of turned into like, oh, like I want him to take me to this movie, and like this is a test to see if he really wants to make me happy and like do something for me,
right?
Kind of thing. And like I was losing hope. Like I was really losing hope.
Same.
I know you were too. I would talk to Autumn about it. I was like, I don't know, like
because like it wasn't even about him. Like you wanted to see Barbie. Like you were just talking about it, like not relating to him taking you. But then it's like, oh, why don't we go together? And then it's like you asked the question once. You should be ready and buying popcorn and like preparing for the experience. Like, why is it taking so long? Like, you should be honored that I want to go to the movies with you.
Because he was like, why don't you want to go with your friends? Like, da-da-da. And it's like, guys, like, I could go see Barbie by myself, and I almost did. I almost like, fuck this, I'm
out of spite.
Out of spite, but it was more just like a test. Like, you know, whatever, women play games, do tests, da-da-da. But I just wanted to see if like he took things I wanted to do seriously and wanted to like really follow through. And like life shit happened. Like it took a long time, like for other like reasons, whatever. So like I'm not gonna like discredit him for that. He did take me, and that's all I wanted. But yeah, but the movie is not about your like relationships with men in that sense in any way. So not so me to make Barbie about my relationship with my man.
Yeah, the fuck, yeah.
But it was so good, honestly, dude. Like, you really, really need to see it. But pretty much premise-wise, like, it takes, like, the whole history of Barbie, and I can see why you would think, you know, it wouldn't be something you would want to watch because of, like, the Barbie ideals. But pretty much it just shows this amazing Barbie land where there's Barbies on the Supreme Court. There's Barbies like leading society. Kens are just accessories. You have Issa Rae, a black woman, as the president. Like Barbies are just
Issa Rae, bro.
Every night is girls' night. You know how every night is like boys' night usually? Like every night's girls' night. Like one night, like Ken is like, oh, I want to hang out with you, Barbie. And she's like, sorry, it's girls' night. Like it's just like women are in the dominant roles. And then Barbie starts having dark thoughts. Oh no, fuck. She's not supposed to have dark thoughts because this world is perfect, pretty perfect, you know, ideals. And she goes to Weird Barbie, which Weird Barbie, I think, in this movie represents kind of like the queer identity. Because when we think of what is a weird Barbie, the ones whose hair you cut, you draw on them, you put them in weird outfits, whatever.
They've been through it. Yeah.
They've been through it. And I think from what I've heard and read about, like, gender dysphoria and trans people and everything like that, like a lot of early experiences come with like playing with your Barbies because you're not identifying with this woman or female ideal, so you start like playing around with it. But whatever, so Barbie I think represents gender dysphoria, queerness, whatever. She tells her you gotta go to the real world, find your human and make things right, whatever. Ken tags along, of course. Barbie goes there and realizes, fuck, the real world's fucked up. Women aren't treated amazing. People look at me weird. People don't listen to me. Like, I'm crying. Why am I crying? And Ken goes and he's like, wow, men are amazing. They're respected, da-da-da. So Mattel comes, which you come to find out that even though the company was created by a woman, Mattel is the franchise that like continued to run it, which was all men. And men are creating these ideals for women. It's not women. So they capture Barbie, try to put her back in the box because if she goes back, she's going to poison all the other women and pretty much tell them that being a woman's not that great. And
start a riot.
You start a riot. But Ken goes back and flips it. Patriarchy all over the place. Da-da-da-da. Barbie goes back, and now she's got to dismantle the patriarchy. But of course, first, she's all sad. She's depressed, what all of us women go through when we're just kind of like sad for no reason. But maybe it's because we face sexism and we can never be perfect enough. Like, this perfect world doesn't exist.
Who knows, though? Who knows?
Right. Who fucking knows? So, pretty much, essentially, back to bimbo culture. I mean, the whole movie is bimbo culture. But
literally.
The whole thing. But the way that the Barbies end up dismantling Ken's patriarchy is that they, with guidance from Weird Barbie and the human women, they
with guidance.
Each Barbie has a Ken that she's following around and like prioritizing the male gaze. The other women, the enlightened women, will go play dumb to distract the Ken and then take the woman to enlighten her, and then they all get together at the campfire at the end, and then each woman swaps Ken random, like all of a sudden at once, and then the men are all like, oh my god, like what can I do without my woman? This is like my power. And then they just start fighting, and then they end up having this like talk at the end, and Ken realizes, you know, it was a lot to be in charge. Like, it was exhausting, and I didn't love it, and whatever. And then Barbie's like, yeah, you need to find your own identity, da-da-da. So it ends really with them, everyone needs to find their own identity, find themselves. Things aren't perfect, and that's okay. It's good to cry, blah, 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 blah. See the fucking movie. It's good. But all the parts about playing dumb, I think, are exactly what we're talking about. Like, they play dumb to finesse, to kind of get on men's level, to feed into their egos, all of those things. They use it as a tool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think, too, it's, like, really crazy, like, to see those, like, polar opposite worlds side by side, like, where the women are running shit, the men are running shit, and it's just, like, we really do be, like, if you think about, like, girl boss feminism, like, they just, like, idealize girlhood so much, where I just, like, that's why I like, the bimbo culture better, because it's, like, come as you are, like, you don't even need to be a woman, like, you know, like, it's genderless, like, it's everyone. But, yeah, we really do be romanticizing girlhood. Like, you can be anything and all that shit. But it's like Barbie goes to the real world and she's, like, crying for the first time. And it's just, like, because that's just how it is, like, unfortunately.
And that's why I think bimbo culture and idealizing girlhood and, like, the whole I'm just a girl thing is because, like, I'd watched another video by Mylao, which I can plug too. But she talked about romanticizing this whole girlhood thing. It's just... it feels better because when you think of girl dinner, it's fun, it's cute, it's like whatever, but woman dinner is you're making your husband a fucking plate and you gotta run the kids to school and like all these like sad, depressing things. Like being a woman in society isn't like you know all these things and it's kind of depressing and sad. So like to go back to this like fantasy land where everything's perfect is like ideal. But the unfortunate thing is that we don't live there, so it's fun to like take on those like styles and da-da-da and like use the tools to our advantage, but always kind of keep in the back of your mind why you're doing this at the same time. Right,
exactly. Like it should really be like, you know, less frequent throughout your life that like you're using this kind of like dumb things to get what you want, because you don't want that to like become you, because like the patriarchy is fucking strong. Like that shit'll like, you know, like it ruined all of us when we're born, and every day we're slowly trying to like fix that shit.
Dismantle that shit. And also the other thing is like the women adopted at like the Barbie land was created where the women are the men. It's like opposite, but like how they reimagined it is different, and it's much more inclusive, like you said, with Weird Barbie is queer. There's also Alan, who's Ken's friend. I think he was like a discontinued Barbie, but he was kind of like a gay man. He wasn't directly like shown as being gay, but like he was an ally to the Barbies. He was helping them. He didn't want to be involved in Ken's land. Yeah. Or any of that. So that just goes to show like bimbo culture and all of that is genderless. It's sexuality-less. It's really anyone.
And I love that because it's like the girl boss shit is not really genderless in my opinion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it can be like, but I'm just like, it's not written in it. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really want to fucking watch the movie now. Like I really do. But I feel like, and it's all about like Barbie and like bimbo culture. Like it's all like come as you are. And it's like, I read another article about it where this woman was like, yes, like Mattel they have the Barbie idea that it's like too, you could never be like her. Like she's the societal, like perfect thing, like blah, blah, blah. But really, it's like when a kid gets a Barbie, it's all about the projections like they put onto the Barbie and like make them, their own identity. That's why you have like the Barbies like with drawings. It's like gender dysphoria, and like this woman writing the article, like she was like, I'm gay, so my Barbies were always kissing each other, and like Ken was like a gay man off in the corner, like like so it's really just interesting. There's so much you could say about like Barbie and all this shit, but it really relates directly to like what we're talking about and everything. So we had to include it. And our last poll was, why do women act dumb around men to get on their level? And that's kind of what we're saying. In this, that was only at 9%. So that one was a little bit lower, but to like a deeper like a deeper reason to get on their level. Like one, it's like men are dumb too, so let's get on their level and I'll be stupid. But the other one is like, you know, unfortunately, like we always say, like with oppression, it is like our job as women to like teach men and blah, blah, blah and understand.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, bro, I'm like pissed about it. I didn't think it was, but then we had this big conversation. I was like, shit, it really is. Like, I was for so long, I was like, they can read a book, do it themselves. Like, I don't fucking want to teach them.
And that's the hardest thing is like, they don't know better. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I've gotten frustrated in certain conversations with men where I'm like, why don't they just get it? But it's like, think about it. Like, if you never fucking spoke Chinese and you went to China, you'd be like, what the fuck? Men have never been in a woman's body. They've never experienced things that women go through. They've never seen, like, they've only been in a place of privilege. Just like you've only spoken English. If you were to go to fucking China, you'd be like, what the fuck? How can you expect them to meet us at our level?
Right.
So it's kind of like our responsibility.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we have to get on their level and like, you know, teach them. So that's like a like hidden meaning in that one, like getting on their level also like education wise and things like that. Okay. So this last thing we want to share with you guys, it doesn't have to do with bimbo culture, kawaii culture, Barbie or anything like that, but simply just like the hidden benefits of playing dumb in general as it pertains to stressful situations. It was like a Psychology Today piece that I read, so I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Feel free to, you know, explore the mind with us right now. Okay. So basically it says, think back on a time when you deliberately withheld the answer to a question you knew perfectly well. Perhaps you were feeling resentful toward your partner for constantly needing to be reminded of upcoming appointments. Why can't they just keep track of their own schedule? You've got enough on your mind. The next time your partner asks when their dentist appointment is, you lie and say you don't know. It's not particularly nice of you to do this, but you still feel a sense of control. Technically, you didn't have to fill in your partner's missing knowledge, so you didn't. Because it's like, basically, it's like also like teaching them like, you know, like, I really just want you to know what your schedule is. And if I keep telling you, you're never going to know. So this is like a little white lie situation, but it's like, it's a stressful situation instead of being like, oh my God, like Tiffany, like, why don't you fucking know your schedule? Like, and getting into it, you're just like, oh, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, figure it out. So it's like, we've all done that. And it's like, when I think back on times, like, I deliberately, like, withheld, like, information or whatever, it all happens so quick. Like, it's not a conscious thing. It's like sometimes just to protect yourself. Like, that's, you know, that's what you do.
Yeah. Honestly, I've been doing it on a more conscious level, and it's something I literally learned in therapy because for me, like, at work, I feel like I work with mostly men, and they don't always listen to everything I'm saying, and I would get super frustrated and be like, why aren't they hearing me? Why aren't things changing? Like, da-da-da-da. And I would talk to my therapist about it because it's like one of my stressors is just like work, and she would be like, why does it upset you? Like, why don't you just let them have it? This isn't your company. You just go to do your role every day and you do what you can and just let it, like, just kind of play dumb and just let them keep talking and let them figure it out on their own. And I think it is good because it's kind of like how therapy works, where they shouldn't really like give you completely the answers. They should let you like guide yourself to the solution. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how therapy works. But that's why I feel like lately at work, sometimes it feels like therapy sessions for them work because I'm just sitting and listening and being like, yeah, totally, like, for sure. Oh, okay, why? Like, whatever. And it's made me less stressed. Like, when I'm able to do that, I'm less like, why isn't this coming to a fruition? Da-da-da. And it's like, in your real life, like, if it were like that in the podcast or something I care about, like, I would not want to be like that. But in a work setting where it's does not need to be that big of a stressor in my life, I think it's a great, like, coping mechanism and tool to use to deal with people who are, like, discounting your intelligence, like men particularly, but also just, like, not taking accountability for their actions.
Right. Yeah, it's really just a way to protect yourself. Like, that all it is. So it's like, the article was literally called, like, hidden benefits, because it's like we're talking about this whole phenomenon as it pertains to, like, intersectional feminism and, like, all this shit, but, like, this is just like literally like the benefits of like playing dumb sometimes, you know? Like, and that's what we're saying, like not all the time, but like if you need to, like just use this, you know, frequent throughout your life in little spurts, and it's okay. Like I feel like at work is like great. Like it's like if your boss like wants you to do something, but then like they forget about it and you don't bring it up, is that kind of like what it's like? That's more like self-destructive though.
If what? Can you repeat it?
Like basically like if your boss like wants you to do something, but it's the end of the day and they completely forgot about it, and they're like, oh, was there anything else we needed to do today? I don't remember. And you're like, oh no, I don't think so.
Because it's kind of their responsibility to remember. You're not,
right,
unless that's your role, you're their assistant or whatever. But yeah, I think that definitely is.
Yeah, so basically, we did want to share some listener stories as well. We had a lot of y'all submit. Join our community so you can submit. We have polls for literally every podcast episode, like we mentioned. So I guess we'll just go back and forth and read a few that we thought were good. But this first one says, basically we asked you guys to share like if you ever acted dumb around a man, or if you've ever seen a woman, like just your experience with this whole sort of phenomenon. And someone said, women have acted more naive and innocent around me. Like she's in the mood for some, but doesn't want to say, winky face. And at first I'm just like, okay. Well, I'm like, first of all, like what if she's not in the mood? Right. Though? Because I know a man submitted this, so I'm quick to just like jump on his throat, which like I need to calm down. I agree with you, but I'm working on it. But also like we didn't really talk about that. It's like I've definitely, like both of us have like been in situations where we're kind of like, yeah, like no, I don't want to like kiss right now. Like you do though. Yeah. So like I do get what he's saying, and it is kind of playing dumb. You're like, what? Like I can't make the first move, like blah blah blah. So it's interesting. I liked that.
Yeah, I think that one's good because I mean, yeah, it can give rapey. It can be like, how do you know she's in the mood for real? But like you said, we've both done that. Like sometimes I want the man to be in control. Like I'll give him other signals through like body language or like eye contact, words, but like I'm trying to put it in his court. But I also do think I used to do that more when I was more like insecure about making the first move, and like more recently I feel like I've just been like, oh well, if I want to, I want to. But it can be foreplay too, so it's like it's all about how you really go about it.
Yeah, when it comes to like playing games and sexual shit, like it gets tricky with consent, because like you're trying to play a game, but how do you know if she's really playing the game or if she really doesn't want it? So that's why you gotta just wait. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The next one is I used to ask my ex questions I knew the answer to so he would feel smarter. And this is kind of the Aegyo thing that we were talking about earlier, how it can benefit your intimate relationships, where it's like, you know, maybe you did know the answer, but you want to make them feel smart in that moment. You want to like boost their ego, make them feel like they're accomplishing something, like not emasculate them all the time. And I think like I kind of have had a problem with this in my past relationships, because like I can be like stubborn and bossy, and I also think I'm smart and like whatever. So like sometimes I would just, you know, be like, no, you're wrong, like da-da-da. But I've learned more that like it's not a bad thing to like relinquish your control and let them have it in a couple times and just be like, oh really, like whatever, because it makes me feel good that I'm making them feel good, and they don't even know, like that kind of back and forth. And I think it's best in intimate relationships because you care about this person and you want them to feel better.
Yeah, and like if that's what it's about, then like that's really sweet. And it's like obviously you don't want to like feel like you need to act dumb to make them feel better. Like that's a different conversation. But like yeah, it's fine to emasculate them sometimes. Like, or I mean, it's fine to not be constantly emasculating them.
Yeah, even though it's tempting. But
yeah. This next one, this person submitted, mansplaining equals ego boost equals I have to take care of her, who else will, which is like the ultimate, like that's like a finesse to like that's like a finesse, so it's like your man has to take care of you, like, you know what I mean? Like
right, kind of going in with the whole like I'm just a girl, like oh fix it for me, like kind of thing. And I don't have this like TikTok, I didn't have it in the notes because I didn't think of it until just now, but I was watching this TikTok of this men's podcast, and honestly, it like I know we talk a lot of shit about a lot of men's podcasts because they be on one, but this man's podcast was like honestly more positive, and this guy was talking about how he used to find it annoying that his girl would be like kind of like dumb around him and like expect him to make all the decisions about like where to go, where to eat, like just not paying attention or whatever. But then he realized that it's because she feels safe around him and because she can kind of let go and let him take control and like lead, which men want to do all the time. They always want to lead. They always want to be like the protectors, da da da. And he was like, and once I realized that, I took it as a huge compliment. And so I think if all men could kind of realize that, because it's also like a catch-22, because it's like you guys claim up and down, not all of you men, but in a lot of these podcasts and whatever, like, oh, we want to protect, we want to lead, we want you to rely on us. But then when we do, sometimes you're like, oh, you're just being dumb, it's annoying. So when you can see it as like, one, she's feeling safe, also she's doing it in some senses to make you like feed your ego, then I think you appreciate those interactions more, you know?
Yeah. And that guy's like really like the guy that you just said, like the good guy in the podcast, like he's very awake to like what's going on and can like see past it and see that it's like, oh, she feels safe with me. Like I see how she is like bad bitching it up in her life. She's fully capable, but like she wants to feel safe with me and like
right.
That's okay. And that's just like when the man and the woman are both like hip to those things. Like when we talked about Kawaii culture, like people know what's going on and using it to their advantage. Like that's great. Like I fucking love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The next one is this guy was changing my tire and he was teaching me while he changed it, but I know how to change one, LOL. And this is the same thing. Like, I think the way she said it, I don't think it was like her man. It was just some guy. So even better, like, you know, you could be on the ground changing this fucking tire right now, but like, you're going to let him do it because you don't want to get your knees dirty and you're trying to like stay cute, da-da-da. Like, let them fucking have it.
And that's using the patriarchy for your own good. Yeah, so it's like, I feel like if I was like in an intimate relationship, I'd be like, no, babe, like I know how to change the tire, like whatever, like maybe, but it's like, especially with strangers and like just like mansplaining and all that shit, like I'm honestly like sometimes I'll play dumb just because I don't want to engage more in the conversation. Like I'm just like, okay, yep, you know everything, bye. Like I'm just like pretending like I agree with you. Like we fucking did that at the strip club every fucking day, bro. Like that shit's crazy.
Yeah, and just one more thing on that too. Like I feel like that kind of goes in with everything we're saying about like old feminism versus like new feminism. Like old feminism would be like, no, show them you know how to do the tire, like da-da-da. And then you kind of create this like tension, like going at war with each other almost, where now they think you're a bitch just because you're trying to be smart. And like sometimes like the psychology thing you said, it's just easier and less stressful to just let them have it. And so like use the parts of the patriarchy that I don't think any parts of the patriarchy really benefit us because it's all oppression. But if you use it as a tool, then it can benefit you and de-stress you.
It's so interesting because, yeah, like old feminism really was like, no, do it, stand up for yourself. But new feminism is like, no, make this shit work for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like so much more down with that.
No,
you know
same.
what I mean? Because I don't know how to change a tire and I don't want to know and I don't want to do it and I don't want to like woman up and all that shit. No, I don't fucking want to. And that's the whole bimbo thing is like, come as you are. Like there's different ways to be a woman. Like we all want different things at the end of the day. Like that's just how it is.
Right.
But yeah, and this last one's super similar. And this person was like, to get my taxes done, just meaning like they wanted to get their taxes done. So they're going to play dumb. And it's like the same thing as the tire. Like you want something, you finesse it. That's why that was like the fucking number one answer, bro.
And the thing is that men love to fucking do that shit. I mean, usually they have the end goal of sex in mind, but like, you know, that's their own problem. And then they can like, they could hate us for it, or they could be like, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't have been thinking about sex when I tried to help her out. I don't know.
Yeah, you fucking idiot. And it's like, it pairs well with their toxic masculinity, which like they want to do everything. So, like, it really works like a charm.
Yeah,
you know
because
I mean?
then, like, then they might get so exhausted being like, why am I doing everything? And then be like, oh,
and then you get the sassy man.
Yep, exactly. So, it's all connected, guys, for real. But we're going to wrap it up now. This is kind of a new segment that we're adding, but we're going to end each episode talking about, you know, this whole topic, what's wet, what's dry, what's confused, where do we stand? Are we wet? Are we dry? Are we confused about it? So Autumn, how do you feel?
I definitely feel really wet on how like the term bimbo has evolved and like how like what we just said, like now it's like using the patriarchy to your advantage you can be any type of woman, messy, hypersexualized, and it's all the same. You're all valid. There's not one Barbie. There's not one way to be. Like,
right.
Accept you as I are. Accept you as you are. I'm really wet about the Barbie movie too, just like in general. Like, it sounds just like so fucking good, and like, I don't know, I really want to see it. Like, I still stand by my initial being like, I don't really know, because it's like, who would expected that? Like, low key, you know what I mean? Like, you take Barbie, which is like the most like Barbie, blonde, skinny, blue eyes. That's like, to this day, like, that's the European, like,
right,
fucking American standard.
Yeah.
So it's like, she's like the epitome of that, which like, we all have like a lot of trauma with that, because if you don't look like that, like, what the fuck? So it's just weird. And I like talking about the history of Barbie, and like, it's all just like really interesting.
Yeah, and that's on female directors too, because we had Greta, what is her last name? Greta Thunberg. I'm gonna sound really stupid. I'm kind of lit off these White Claws guys, but like, one other thing, like, going into that, what you said about you can be anyone, and it's not just these ideals. Like, the interesting thing about the Barbie movie, which like encompasses all, like, again, so wet about you can be anyone, but that like she was called stereotypical Barbie. So when she started to be like upset and like cry and feel like sad, she's like, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm stereotypical Barbie. Why am I still not happy? And that shows, because we used to be like, you know, I'm not like other girls. I'm not like her. She's like succeeding. She's perfect in the male gaze, da-da-da. You can't be, because even stereotypical Barbie is not, like, doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So that's like, I'm wet about like the way that we're realizing all of these things. I'm dry about the fact that like, we still don't live in this world where everybody has realized this. We still have to like teach men a lot of things, and we still have to navigate our everyday lives, but definitely wet about just learning about playing dumb to your advantage. Like, I didn't know that psychology. I kind of knew from like therapy, but I never really like put it together. But overall pretty wet about it, and just confused about the binaries. It's always the fucking binaries, guys. Like, we're trying to live and create this gray area.
Yeah. I'm also just wet about like anyone who got pissed off by the Barbie movie because they wanted it to be all about Ken. Like, that makes me really wet. Oh yeah, and same thing. I'm just like dry in general that, like, not everyone sees it that way, and like, we're not a part of Kawaii culture, to be honest, because what the fuck?
But they
like,
still live in a very male-dominated and more oppressed
society.
I
know.
Places,
I'm not going to glamorize the fuck out of it. Right. I know. I'm sorry.
But we can practice that. We can learn from other cultures and practice them in our daily lives, like with Aegyo. I think you do it. I've seen you do stuff like that in your relationships with people and stuff. So we got it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm just confused about, honestly, I'm like, do the men in like the US like know as much about this as like, you know, maybe the guys that answered our polls? Like, probably not. Like, it just sucks. I wish we could really put out a worldwide survey, because I want to know like what all these people are thinking about it. But yeah, basically, we're always going to be wet and dry and confused about every topic. There's always something, you know what I mean?
Confused pussies,
but yeah.
bitches.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll end it here. Thank you guys so much for listening wherever you are. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and, you know, hit us up on social media, like we said, at So Wet So Dry. Join our community of pussies. And yeah, so we will catch you in the next episode. Bye. No, because she was really feeling me, bro. Like, I swear she wasn't talking to any of the other guys up in there like that.
Nah, dude, because when she was on stage, she was making eye contact with me.
She gave me her Instagram. Like, I think she's really going to DM me. Like, I think this could be something, bro, for real.
When she gave me a lap dance, it was not like any of those other guys in there, bro. Like,
he told me her real name, bro. Like, I got the real name and shit.
She was trying to finesse a little bit, but like, I love a woman about her money, you know, get yours.
I was gonna do VIP and shit, but like, I don't even need to do that. I know she's gonna hit me up later. She wanted it though.
She was sitting with old bro for a minute, but like, I know she was thinking about me.